Hello and welcome to Good Games Spawn Point, the show for younger gamers by gamers. I'm Hex.
And I'm Barjo.
And I am Darren. How do I look?
You look great, Darren. Very festive.
Oh, thank you.
We're very excited and a little bit sad because this is our very last episode for the year.
That's right, but we have so many games to talk about, Hex, including the 360's latest gadget, the Kinect, and some of its motion games.
And a Ninty reboot, another classic game from the past, Donkey Kong Country returns.
Let's get into it.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
It'll definitely be barrels of fun. See what I did there, Darren? Barrels, because Donkey Kong throws barrels.
It does.
Affirmative. You're monkeying around.
Hold on to your coconut spawnlings because Nintendo's Great Ape and Chimpanzee Chum returns.
Donkey and Diddy Kong are back to their side-scrolling shenanigans and Donkey Kong Country returns. And this time it's got a very retro feel to it.
Yes, but just in case you never played the originals, Darren, how about we run your denubification process and tell us a bit about them?
Oh, affirmative. The original Donkey Kong Country appeared in 1994 on the Super Nintendo home console, and it immediately became a classic of the platform genre. It featured gameplay in a mere 2 dimensions, but with advanced pre-rendered 3D graphics that set it apart from other games in its class. It also introduced the world to Diddy Kong, the smaller, cheekier monkey of the DK duo.
It was really good fun as well, and I remember playing the original and just having such a good time with it. And you know what, Hex, when I started playing this one, I felt the exact same way.
Yeah, me too. And I think it's because Nintendo and the game's developer, Retro Studios, were really heavy with the nostalgia here. You control both Donkey and Diddy Kong in classic gap-jumping, baddie-bouncing style. There's an old-fashioned map screen linking together the many tropical island-themed worlds, and loads of other little things from previous games like the DK barrels that'll respawn your lost companion, or the rideable animal mounts like Rambi the rhinoceros.
All the vine swinging, ground pounding, and barrel blasting make it a very nostalgic experience, but the 2.5D level design makes it more than just a nostalgic trip. You know, it's not just more of the same, it's more of the same, but it looks a bit better. Some of the new levels feature really cool additions, like the huge tidal waves crashing from the background to the foreground, jet-propelled rocket rides, and some really beautiful levels that take place entirely in silhouette. And of course, there's always minecarts.
So many minecarts.
One thing that didn't make a reappearance, which I was a bit disappointed about, Hex, were the Kremlings. You know, they're Donkey Kong's foes from the very first game, and they're just not here.
Indeed. I always found the Kremlings to be a most agreeable foe. The emission of such evil genius is a gaming crime of the highest order. It's an outrage. I shall find who is responsible and then charge my laser!
Hold that laser, Darren. The baddies aren't all that bad. I mean, sure, they are just a bunch of haunted tiki masks and an army of seafood soldiers, and they're not as cool as the Kremlings, but the game does offer some really cool boss characters like this one. There's also some new control features that make use of the Wiimote. You can shake the controller to make Donkey or Diddy pound the ground, which will open up new passageways and secrets, and Donkey can blow out fires while Diddy shoots peanuts. It never gets too complex, and it stays far from Wagglefest territory.
One new thing that this game does well is co-op, with 2 players able to play as Donkey and Diddy. Co-op is definitely a lot of fun, but if you think that playing co-op is going to make things easier, think again, because you lose lives twice as fast. And I guess it's a good trade-off if you've got someone to monkey about with.
I think the best thing I'll take away from DK Country Returns is the music. And the reason why it's so great is it's because they haven't messed with it at all. In fact, it almost sounds identical to the original tunes.
And I think that plays into the whole philosophy behind this game, which is it's old school platforming, polished up for a new audience, and mostly it works. I think if you're a fan of the original games, you'll get a great nostalgic trip here, but even if you're not, this is a great platforming game, and I'm giving it 9 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think this game will hold a lot more value for old schoolers than it will for new players, just because it is so deeply nostalgic, you know. But having said that, I still think it's up there with the likes of New Super Mario Bros. Wii as one of this generation's best traditional platformers, so I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It reminded me of one of my favourite bands.
What's that, Darren?
Bananarama!
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Affirmative.
I don't know what he's talking about, Axe.
Ring, 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 banana phone.
Now look what you've done.
Ring, 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 ring,
gonna go
ring,
for a
ring,
while,
banana phone. They come in bunches. I've got my hunches.
Well, Badge, you know what this is.
Certainly is a bunch of tinsel hacks, but it's also the last Ask Good Game of the year, and I'm gonna miss those questions.
Yeah, same, but let's not waste any time and get stuck right into it. First up, is this from Mitchie from Alex Hills? Is that a place? Why don't you review any car racing games?
Well, Mitchie, your question makes no sense to us because we absolutely do review car games. We reviewed 4 different car games this year on SP: Sonic All-Stars, Mod Nations, Need for Speed World, and Trackmania, and 4 other ones on our main show: Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, F1 2010, Blur, and Split Second, just this year. Personally, I love a good racer.
Yeah, we review all kinds of games and we do our best not to ignore any genre, and you can always check out those old reviews on our website, here. Moving on to this multi-part question from Harrison in New Berrima, New South Wales.
Multiple parts. Stressful.
1. Darren and Burjo are noobs. 2. Hex rocks. 3. What is the first Mario game? 4. Do you know if Mario has cheats? 5. Is Minecraft on a disc? 6. Can I get Halo on DS?
Well, Harrison, 1. Whoever this Virgo is certainly sounds like a noob. If he's anything like Darren, even more so.
And 2. Thank you.
3. Mario's first game would technically be Donkey Kong.
4. No, Mario games have never had cheats. They often have lots of Easter eggs or little tricks to get easy lives, for example, but never cheat codes.
5. No, Minecraft is available as a download only at the moment. You could download that though and burn it to a disc.
And finally 6. No, Halo is not on DS and it never will be, as it's a Microsoft-owned franchise, and Microsoft and Nintendo are kind of business rivals in this games industry thing.
All right, well, next we've got this from Liam in Victoria, Melbourne, which is in Victoria. What's the worst video game console ever created? Well, Liam, there's been a few terrible ones. The easiest target has to be Nintendo's Virtual Boy from 1995, which was meant to give gamers an immersive 3D experience. Instead, it made you play games by looking into binoculars. You could only see the color red, and you'd have to have a bucket standing by because you were likely to throw up through motion sickness. It was discontinued in the same year it was released.
Apple also released a console in 1995 called the Apple Bandai Pippin. If you haven't ever heard of it, then you're not alone. In a world dominated by the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, it was a disaster and only ever sold 46,000 units before being discontinued.
All right, moving on to this one from Lol Guy in Brisbane, Queensland.
Hi, I'm a really big Age of Empires fan, and I heard a rumour that a 4th one is coming out, and if this is true, when? Please answer, please, 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 please. Well, lol guy, we have good news for you because there is a new Age of Empires coming out, and it's called Age of Empires Online.
It's the first game from Robot Entertainment, who are largely made up of old Ensemble Studios developers, the original creators of Age and Empire, so it's in good hands.
It looks to be trying to combine the old style of Age of Empires with an MMO-like persistent world. It's set for release sometime next year. We can't be any more specific than that though, but we'll definitely be keeping an eye on it.
Okay, next is this from Hayden in Tailem Bend, South Australia. Can you get the new Ratchet & Clank All for One put on a PS2 disc?
Well, thanks for writing in, Hayden, but no, you can't get PS3 games like the new Ratchet & Clank put onto PS2 discs. It's just not a simple matter of putting the same data onto a different kind of disc, as the games are specifically made for a certain set of consoles.
Yeah, PS3 games use Blu-ray discs with over 40 gigabytes of data, whereas PS2 uses plain old DVD, which maxes out at 8 gigabytes, so there's no way you'd be able to cram all of that data onto a PS2 disc, and even if you could, the PS2 wouldn't be able to handle all the shiny high-definition graphics. It's an old piece of hardware now, and the PS3 is much more powerful.
Okay, well, speaking of PS3s, we've also got this one from Jordan in Melbourne, which is in Victoria. I'm pretty sure of that.
Hi, Good Game Spawn Point. I'd like to ask you a question about a game you reviewed last week, DJ Hero 2. What console do you think would be better to play it on, PS3 or Wii? Because I'm getting a Wii for Christmas and already have the PS3. Thanks for answering. Well, Jordan, either version would be fine, but we'd have to say go for the PS3 one for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it'll look better. That doesn't really matter in a music game, but it's always nice to have some eye candy.
Plus, the multiplayer and online elements are easier to use and work better on PSN than with the Wii.
Also, the PS3 has a built-in hard drive, so if you want to get any downloadable content, then you won't have to worry about having an SD card to store it on. While we're speaking of hard drives, we have this from Maximilian in Sydney. Where is it? No, that's a picture of Darren dancing. What? He's rubbish.
How do I install a game onto my PS2's hard drive? I love your show and I watch it every week. Thank you. Well, Max, you're going to struggle to do that for one major reason. The PS2 doesn't have a hard drive.
Yeah, that does make it hard. So, sorry to say, Maximilian, there's no installing of games onto PS2s.
Okay, next is this from Shannon in South Australia.
South Australia. I just bought a Nintendo Wii and I'm wondering what else do you need for it to be complete. I've been looking for ages now and still can't find anything. Well, Sharon, the only other things you'll need for your Wii are a TV, some games, and if you want to play multiplayer, you'll need another Wiimote and nunchuck. Other than that, you should be good to go.
Yeah, you really don't need to go out and buy any of those accessories either. Most of them are just useless pieces of plastic.
Yeah.
And let's have one more from a mystery viewer in Victoria. Is that your mystery dance?
Yeah.
Nice.
Been working on it all year. I thought I'd do it for the final show. Were you impressed?
Yeah. New games, please. Now I am desperate.
Oh, mystery viewer, we know the feeling, but unfortunately we can't really help you there. You must be patient.
But we hope all of you spawnlings will be finding plenty of games to play over the holidays.
We'll be back next year to answer more of your awesome questions. In the meantime, if you've got a question, well, just hold on to it for next year. Because we'll be back then and we'll talk to you then about it.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I'm Justin.
And we're gamers!
In my family, I have a younger brother than me, and his name's Sammy, and he's 2 years old. And I have another younger brother whose name is Benji, and he's 6 years old. And they both like to play games as well.
First game I ever played would have to be Zelda Ocarina of Time. I have very fond memories of that game since I was only 3 or 4 and don't remember much.
I guess our favourite family game of all time was Simpsons Hit and Run on the PS2. It was always fun just sitting there, the two-player game, racing against each other. There was a lot of Simpsons in-jokes as well going through the game, and you got to break a lot of things and crash into stuff and make Homer generally be a real goose.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The whole town's gone nuts. For the whole family, it would have to be Wii Sports Resort. Yeah, especially sword play and bowling. Because, like, with bowling, everyone gets a go, while sword play is just really fun and good if you want to kill some time.
There's something for everyone in that. Even for Sammy, and he loves the sword fighting one.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes the sword and starts whacking it as hard as he can.
You can't use the buttons or anything though, but he just goes.
But he's pretty darn good at it. When I was younger, I still liked to play because I didn't want to feel left out. And my hands were quite small, so I couldn't really fit them on the controller. And another game that we played called Guitar Hero, when we tried to play that, I didn't have like big enough fingers to do lots of all the notes. So my dad and my mum sat on either side and I did yellow, one did green and one did red, and we all played a song together, and you all had to sit next to me to help me because I couldn't do all the notes by myself. But it was pretty good.
Well, my gamer name is Plucky Tech, and there's not really much story behind it. I tried a whole bunch of other names. I was getting frustrated, so I just tried a name that I reckon no one else would have, and no one else had it.
Because I usually play all my singing games and stuff on the Xbox on Plucky Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you made your own, you could get all the achievements on yours.
But then I'd have to start all over again.
Good point.
When I'm not playing video games, I like to play outside with my younger brothers and occasionally my older brother.
I do a lot of reading. I think the reason I started reading was because of video games. my parents told me that that if I learned to read, I could read instruction manuals quicker and get to playing the game sooner. So I started doing lots of reading then, and yeah, I haven't stopped since.
I think it's a really good thing that we can all have fun together and we can still play games and enjoy each other's company and stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
really glad.
Oh, look, Darren, it really likes you.
Affirmative. Here, kitty, 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 kitty.
The completely controller-free Kinect for the Xbox 360 is an attempt by Microsoft to beat out Nintendo and Sony in the motion gaming stakes. But waggles stick or not, it all comes down to the game. So, first up, Kinect Adventures.
Hex, before we begin, we should warn the nooblings that the Kinect seems to require a lot of play space in front of your TV to work properly. The camera scans your room, just like I scan for noobs, to figure out where you will need to stand. The optimum standing distance from your TV is between 1.5 to 2 metres for a single player to a whopping 3 metres for 2 players.
Yeah, it requires a lot more room to work than we were expecting. The Den of Gaming was only just big enough, so you'll definitely want to check out your living space before you go and get one of these.
Affirmative. Now, you may continue.
Thanks, Darren. Kinect Adventures is the only game that comes with the Kinect, and it's a compilation of 5 mini-games that'll have you jumping, waving your arms about, and ducking and weaving, all in the quest for pins, which is the equivalent of points in Kinect Adventures.
Of the 5 games, 2 stood out to me as being really good fun and showing off how responsive the Kinect is. River Rush puts you on an inflatable raft hurtling down a river. You can steer by stepping left and right and jump to launch the boat in the air. The goal of the game is to get as many pins as possible before reaching the end of the river. Then there's Reflex Ridge, which is similar to River Rush, but you're on rails instead of a river, and to earn pins you have to dodge obstacles. There's a little bit of lag for both, isn't there? But you actually forget about that once you get into it.
I had a bit of a problem with the ducking bits.
I noticed that, Darren. It's because you don't have knees. Two of the other games aren't nearly as memorable, 20,000 Leagues and Space Pop. 20,000 Leagues challenges you to plug leaks in an underwater tank, and in Space Pop you have to flap your arms to fly while popping as many bubbles as you can before a timer runs out.
The final minigame, Rally Ball, is like a 3D version of Breakout. You use your body as a paddle to bounce balls into bricks and targets. It's a pretty good example of how well the Kinect can track your whole body, but the noticeable lag makes it a little difficult. Overall, I think Kinect Adventures is a good example of what the Kinect is capable of. It's just a shame there aren't more mini-games. I'm giving it 6.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's a bit of multiplayer fun. I'm giving it 6 out of 10 rubber chickens. Next up, Joyride. It's a racing game and it would be a lot more fun with a controller, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Kinect controls feel totally tacked on to a pretty average kart game. You hold your arms out to steer, but it just doesn't feel right. Plus, all the braking and accelerating is done for you, which is really boring.
It's a game for noobs.
I agree with you, Darren. I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I think you can have some fun pretending to drive, but I don't want to have to pretend to have fun as well, so I'm giving it 4.
Next up, what motion controlling device would be complete without a sports minigame compilation? Enter the shameless Wii Sports clone, Kinect Sports.
Well, I'll step aside now for you as you go live to Tornado Gardens.
My rotors needed a bit of an oiling for this. They're not quite used to this amount of rapid movement.
There are 6 sports to play here: boxing, table tennis, track and field, soccer, beach volleyball, and the always popular bowling.
I thought they all worked pretty well, except for the boxing. It's a bit weird just punching the air and not getting any feedback, you know. I just felt a little bit silly and it wasn't quite responsive enough.
Yeah, the boxing was lame, but I was surprised how responsive the table tennis was. It was great at detecting how much power and spin I was trying to put into my shots. Same with the bowling. Little differences in how I bowled translated into noticeable spin and power differences.
The soccer game was the worst, I thought. I would almost rather go outside to the actual outside world and kick a real soccer ball. Almost, but not quite.
Overall, it's a pretty solid collection though, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's presented well with lots of great licensed music. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
It's pretty much what you want from a sports compilation, with the added bonus of no one being able to cheat by just wangling a Wiimote. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens. Next up, it's time for Darren to get his moves on. Are you ready, Darren? It's Dance Central.
Affirmative. I've got to wiggle it just a little bit.
Yes, from the creators of Rock Band and Guitar Hero Harmonix comes a dance game, and it's a doozy. Now, dance games of yesteryear have always been relegated to floor mats and waggling Wiimotes, but with Dance Central you have to really step up because it's watching everything you do.
Basically, there's a dancer on screen and you have to mimic their moves like you're looking into a mirror. If you're doing the routine right, you'll see the circle on your feet glow green and say great or flawless. If you're doing it wrong, the game will highlight whichever body part is out of position in red and use some not so kind words to describe your performance.
True potential must be nurtured. A true champion must face his flaws.
Yes, you got quite used to hearing those words, didn't you?
Oh, you mean me? Yes, I did. There are 32 songs to play through, and you'll need to play them through all on easy first before you can unlock the harder modes. Each song has a tailor-made dance routine, so it will take you a while to master them all.
There's a break it down mode, which acts as your tutorial, taking you through all the moves in a song's routine step by step, even allowing you to slow down the moves until you get them right, which is more or less essential to do for every song if you want to stand any chance of doing well. Although I didn't like that if you fail a move 3 times, it just moves on. I mean, you'd think if I'm doing badly at something, I'd need to practice it a little bit more.
I think this game will be really good with the dance battles at parties, you know. They're quite simple, but really great fun. And, you know, just generally, I think is a step forward for dancing games and the best launch game for the Kinect. You don't need a mat and you don't need to hold a Wiimote. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, you know what? I really enjoyed it as well. I'm going to give it 8 too.
And finally, a game that lets me sit down for a bit, even if it was just to watch the cutscenes, Kinectimals.
Yeah, this is a bit like a more evolved version of iPet or Nintendogs, in which you explore a tropical island with a wildcat cub as a pet. Barjo, how cute are these little kitties?
They're very cute, I have to admit. The graphics are just gorgeous. You can see their fur swish around as they stumble about, hear their affectionate purring, and they'll come up close to the screen and lick it. If you're an animal lover, you will instantly be won over.
The Kinect lets you reach out and give them a good scratch, brush them down, feed them treats, make them fetch balls, and learn a whole stack of tricks such as rolling over, jumping, and standing on one leg, amongst others. Of course, the only way to teach them is to perform the tricks yourself.
Yes, just when I thought I could sit down for a bit, I was made to roll on the floor. But it is very responsive. You get that instant feedback, so it's quite enjoyable. My first complaint would be, though, that I felt like I was being the one that was being trained. You know, it kept popping up with these tasks for me to do, like knock down a bunch of blocks with a ball while my animal just chilled out in the background. Just let me train my pet.
Yeah, plus the pet has a bit of a short attention span. You'll start instructing it to do something and then it'll run off screen to grab a toy as a suggestion for what you should do next. But having said that, it also means you're never short of things to do, from making your pet dig up treasure items to decorating your little island hut home.
I think this is firmly aimed at younger gamers, Hex. You know, there's a lot of life and energy to this, though, much more than something like iPad. So I was okay with all the sparkle. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
There's a lot of stuff in here that's not really to do with interacting with your pet, but when it does let you play with the kitty, it's really adorable, so I'm giving it 7.5.
Did you have a good time playing with the kitty, Darren?
Oh, affirmative. I think I've made a friend for life.
Oh.
Good Game presents A Very Darren Christmas, featuring such classics as
I'm charging my laser. I aim for the head.
and
Silent noob. Lasered noob. I've got the skills to rack up kills.
and everybody's favorite
Jingle bells, Barjo smells, Hex likes unicorns,
and many, many more. Available on record, cassette, or 8-track this Christmas. Well, Spawnlings, that's the last episode for the year, done and dusted. But do not cry into your cartridges, for we shall return next year.
Affirmative. On Saturday, the 12th of February in the year 2011.
Thanks, Darren. Very precise. We're going to be playing a bazillion games over the break, so make sure you tune in when we return so we can tell you all about our favourites. And if you want to tell us what your favourites were, then you can send us an email or drop by the forums and leave us a comment.
Now, more importantly, Darren, where's my present?
Oh, well, if you look in my little oven, you'll find your gift. Yes, it has a little label on it.
Oh, Barjo. Thank you, Darren.
Oh, and I have one for you too, Hex.
Oh, really?
Yes, look in. See for yourself.
There is too. Thanks, Darren.
Merry Christmas. I was assured it was the highest grade bath oil.
Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome.
Hey, Darren, what's this?
It's the Vocalizer 10002, the most advanced language chip in the world. Once it's installed, you'll be able to speak over 213 languages, including Elvish and Klingon. Would you like me to install it now?
Yes, please.
Charging my laser!
No, Darren. Maybe we should wait till after the show. Why don't we open your presents now?
Oh, how splendid! Oh, I wonder what I got. Oh, it's so exciting. Oh, 2 presents at once. Oh, happy days. Oh, how splendid. Titanium pasta scoops. And they match my colouring perfectly. Thank you so much.
You look fabulous, Darren, but now we really have to say goodbye. So thank you to everyone who watched this year. Have a safe and wonderful gaming holiday. Barjo out.
Hex out. See you later, guys.
Darren out. Now, hold still, Barjo, while I slice your brain open to insert that chip.
Yeah. Okay, go.
Charging my laser!
Tickles a little bit. Oh, okay, Darren, let's try this out.
Okay, try some Klingon.
Okay, kabla!
Zippity-doo-dah!
Well, I actually speak Elvish. This could be fun. Tir no tronanin.
No, don't understand. What else you got, Darren?
Oh, try some droid.
Okay, bleep, blop, bloop, bleep, bloop, bloop, bleep!
Bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop, bleep, bloop.
What did you say? That's offensive. No, it's fine.